Hey there, friends, it's Bill MacDonald, and I today will be your ELAR writing doctor. As you know, because I posted in my video a little post yesterday about the new changes coming up next year, where there's going to be a lot more constructed type responses, 2-point questions where you have to give the answer and textual evidence, and then one essay question. That's awesome, but I don't want us to get the cart before the horse, like I mentioned. And I also don't want you to be overwhelmed with the concept of you, more than likely, many of your students are going to get 6 editing or 6 revising questions in this May's test from 3rd through 8th grade. So I'm going to do part 2 of don't climb a mountain or a hill when you only need to go over an overpass, because editing questions only focus on one sentence or at the most 2 in a passage. So I'm going to get quickly into it so you don't have to watch me talk for too long today. Get back to your world. I know that we're all busy. The last time in part 1, I showed you this question. So I went ahead and skipped right to the next question. Remember that R stands for read the question and the sentence, singular, in the passage that it's coming from. These were written by actual students on their actual STAR test. While you're reading, you will teach your students to underline and label. That's why the U and the L are there. So this one again is from 100, page 100. Let me get all the way to the bottom here. Page 189 in the, this one is from Dear Doc, multiple choice number 1. The book is called Daily Editing and Revising of Development, Organization, and Conventions, but now I'm adding a lot of reading to it because of the transition we're making. So if you want to practice in a very simple way, go to the binder on page 189 to 230, and there's going to be 10 little practice tests, multiple choice tests 1 through 10, that will have one mistake, just like the STAR test, but you can also practice in an open-ended world to prepare your students for next year. So as we're reading the question, here it is. What change, if any, should be made in sentence blank, sentence 3? You would underline the word change, bracket the word cups, which means the mistake will be capitalization, usage, punctuation, or spelling. Capitalization, usage, subject, the person, place, thing, or idea, verb, predicate, action, punctuation, just threw my pencil, so I got to get another one now, or spelling, where you take a picture of the words, you say the words, you pronounce them, you sound them out chunk by chunk, syllable by syllable. So let's take a look at number 3, where we can just, as I mentioned, climb an overpass. Just look at the sentence and practice the skill. Capital. Some, plural, people, plural, think that it's cool, and I circled the word cool with a blue circle because I want to make sure I introduce fact and opinion. Cool is not true, it's just someone's opinion. To do drugs, plural, comma, bouncing the imaginary ball on the table. I'm slowing the sentence down, but my fanboys, it isn't. I toss the imaginary ball up in the air because isn't has a punctuation mark. And so the table bounces or commas up in the air for apostrophes, contractions, and quotation. It isn't a why isn't. When you toss it, you can help your kids separate is from not by saying isn't first, where you toss the ball, is not a wise choice at all. And again, the word wise is circled in blue because that's another opinion, period. So you're stopping the sentence. So let's remember how the punctuation marks go, and you can teach your kids an easy way to remember this. I'm going to call it the fat guide for punctuation. You bounce the real or imaginary ball on the floor for a stop sign called a period, exclamation, or question mark. You toss one up in the air, A, for apostrophes, contractions, opening, closing quotations, and you'll bounce it on the table. And again, why are the yellow and red? Because yellow punctuation slows the sentence down and red punctuation stops the sentence. So I kind of call that a silly name. It's my fat guide. So you got this fat guide named Bill helping you with the fat guide called punctuation. So there is a mistake here. So it's important to teach your kids not just to label and underline inside the sentence, but even the answer choices. So we would technically go to a passage. 3 is odd, so A, change the comma to a period, yellow to red. Some people think that it's cool to do drugs, period, but if you do that, the but would have to be capitalized. Now, a lot of people are saying that you cannot start a sentence with but, and it's not true. You can. Here's a very simple technique or trick, if you want to call it. If you cover up the conjunction word and the sentence still makes sense by itself, you said capital but, it isn't a wise choice at all. Because that makes sense, then you could start that sentence with the word but, as long as the independent clause is true. And I learned that several years ago on a video. So if you have the word and there, and it isn't, if we cover up the capital and the rest of the sentence makes sense by itself, capital, it isn't a wise choice at all, that would make sense. So there's some cases where you can start a sentence with a fanboy and it'll work. But in this case, we would need a capital if we're going to put a period there. So let's go ahead and eliminate letter A, change drugs to capital drugs. Now, unless they're naming the drug, we wouldn't change a common to a proper noun, but the C stands for capitalization of cups. So let's see, some people think that it's cool to do drugs. So since the drug is not named, not generic, it's just common. We would not do that because they don't have a specific drug. So what you might do as an extension is ask your kids if they take any prescriptions for special sicknesses. What medicine do you take when you have a cold, when you have a cough, when you know, that'll help them understand the difference between when to use common drug and capital drug, only if the word drug is in the name of the drug you're talking about. Change its possessive to it's, it is cool. So let's try it by separating the it from the S. Some people think, capital, some people think that it is cool to do drugs, comma, but it isn't, is not a wise choice at all, period. Since that does make sense to place a contraction apostrophe there, I would highly suggest that you do it. So we would put a question mark right there with our pencil. That is a punctuation mistake. No change, since we just found out that I can't own the next word. It's one of the few cases where it's is ownership without the contraction. With the contraction, it becomes it is. So have your kids be careful with that. So I'm going to eliminate 3, 2, 3, letter D because there is a mistake, letter A and B because we would have to change the lowercase b and but to a capital B, and the drug was not named in letter B, so we'll pick letter C in both the book and the Scantron. And because many of you have this binder digitally, you can practice having your kids all Zoom programs, and a lot of the programs allow you to annotate. So you can use different programs to kind of use any digital product and practice doing online strategies. So we did select one in our book. We have to remember to go to the Scantron or to submit it in the computer. If you don't, you could get 100 in the booklet, but a 0 on the test because you didn't transfer over to the Scantron. So letter C matches 3 in the book and in the Scantron, just like you would match your left shoe from your right shoe. Now, extra practice. I need to look for one in my open-ended pages that allow me to practice it's again. So there's number 5 there. Capital, it's going to be capital Christina's birthday on capital June 2nd, 2015, period. So the only punctuation that's already there, and again, why is all this punctuation? Because you might want to practice just one skill with your kids so that you can maybe give a quick grade on punctuation when you need one. So let's circle that period in red because we're stopping. And the 3 mistakes are change it's possessive. They don't own the next word. I can't own a going. It's boss. It's bone, a dog. It's light or a lamp went out. Let's try it. It is going to be, that makes sense. So I'm going to change it's possessive to it is. Christina's. And so one thing that you can teach your kids here, you're going to slow the sentence down and ask yourself, does this birthday belong to Christina? Yes, it is her birthday. So we can put an apostrophe S right there. And then so that you don't have too many numbers in a row, you don't put June, comma, 2nd, separating the word from the number. you put June 2nd, comma, separating the number from the number. And so that would be number 5. And just for fun, we'll go ahead and do quickly number 6 and 7. Capital, I have 13 puppy, singular, apostrophe S, at home. And so because of the apostrophe S, that's possessive, you have to own the next word. I can't own an at, so I'm going to have to change this singular puppy, possessive, to plural puppies. How do you do that? Well, when you have a consonant Y, one of the things that you can do is shout out to your students all at the same time. When you're changing consonant Y to from singular to plural, you drop the Y, wah, 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 and add I, E, S. And so many students struggle with singular, possessive, plural, possessive, singular versus plural. So a quick teachable moment. If the puppies owned something, then you would draw your little apostrophe at the end, draw your possession wall, if you want to call it that. You can say whatever's next belongs to the puppies in this case. In singular possessive, you draw your possession wall. Whatever's next belongs to a puppy. It's a very simple way to do it. And again, we have a date separation. Capital April 23, comma, 2014, separating the day from the year. Okay. And then if we're color coding, we have a stop sign because the sentence is finished. And the last one, I did promise to do it with you. Think about the barrel of monkeys. They have green, yellow, blue, and red, which I'll be using several times in lots of videos. So I suggest you go to Dollar Tree, get a barrel of monkeys. They have 3 greens, 3 blues, 3 reds, and 3 yellows. So what's my first word? Capital can. Can you make sandcastles, castle, singular, possessive, out of sand, period? Okay. Green for go. What word did you use to start the sentence? Yellow for slow. Do you have a subject and a predicate? And red for whoa. Do you have a stop sign that's correct? Because my go word was can, not the noun, the thing that you put Coke in, Dr. Pepper, because we're asking a question, we have to make sure that because we started with a green question word, we would need to end with a red question mark. So a suggestion that I have there, besides changing sandcastle, singular possessive, or singular possessive to plural, moving over, just remove the S, the apostrophe, and you would change it by writing sand castles, plural. And because of this word can, we would change the period to a question mark. And I like, again, to think of it as a little red ball where you're stopping the sentence. Now, there's a suggestion. I think I drew one for you, if I'm not mistaken. Double check. Yeah, there it is on the opposite side of the page. What you might do with your students is in their journals or their composition folders, their portfolios, have them all draw a red question mark, nice and big on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then they can start every time they see a sentence that has a question starter, the green word can, should, will, who, what, when, where, why. Have them write the words on the page and they can start building the question, question mark sentence starters. And again, you would remember to put the word in capital. I would write the word can in capital. I would underline the capital, proper noun, and titles and first word because it's the first word. What is our go word? Can. And I really believe in the benefit of color coding. So if you go to the binder, because you don't have time or want to take the time to do something like this, on page 130, you already have one drawn for you where you have the ball called a period where you have a statement or command, the word period when you're naming it, and the little arrow saying if over here you're giving a statement or a command, then you need a stop sign called a period. Page 131, a question mark. Page 131, it has the word question mark, interrogative sentence, where you can tell your kids, look at this part of the question mark. It has an ear where somebody's asking something and they're waiting for a response, and have it resting on the line to remember that, oh, that's a floor bounce, that whatever I just told you is asking a question like the one that we just saw. Now, very quick teachable moment for those of you that teach Spanish. If you draw this and you flip it upside down, in Spanish, what you're saying first is, what I'm about to tell you with my pencil is a question, followed by that. And then when you're done asking the question in Spanish, you have to flip it the other way and say, oh, what I just finished telling you was a question. One more because we're talking about stop signs today. I also have all the yellow ones as well in the following pages, but we'll just focus on whenever you're emotionally involved, the word emotion is very similar sounding to mation. So you can say, think of these two words, exclamation, exclamation. When your emotions are involved with whatever you're saying, you would put a little straight line with a dot saying, whatever I just told you with my mouth or my pencil was an emotional connection to what I was writing. And again, a quick teachable moment for Spanish teachers who have kids who struggle with drawing them. Have them draw the correct way first and then say, okay, what I'm about to tell you in Spanish is going to be emotionally driven. So in Spanish, the exclamation mark in the front, the dots on the top, and the lines on the bottom. What I'm about to tell you is emotional for me. And when I'm done telling you, I'm going to remind you it was emotional for me. And I like that in Spanish because it gives your students a chance to basically let the reader know that something emotional is coming up or something that somebody wants to know is coming up. I sometimes wish that the English would do that, but we don't, so we won't. So there you go. That's a climb the overpass instead of a mountain. Please share or tag your writing teacher friends um, for remembering that we will most likely get 6 editing or 6 revising questions this May, even though it's still tests. I can practice it in simple sentence format so I won't be overwhelmed, especially if I'm pressed for time these days. I will have it on sale for $5 until the end of the week. Several hundred of you have already purchased it just these past couple of weeks. So I'll make sure I keep modeling. You're also going to get several passages for free that I'll be adding. After this week, the price will go back to $10, $15, or $20. Haven't decided yet, but any reading passages that I add to kind of build on the English language arts reading writing component to kind of merge those two worlds like we're having to do now, I'll include those for free. Anybody who placed an order for the binder. And the best thing to do if you don't already have the updated version, buy this very inexpensive, very reasonably priced $5 version. I'll have it for you probably until Sunday. For those of you that want to take advantage of that special price. I just posted a math video of the most difficult math problems from the 2021 tests, and I made my own little mini-me's of those questions so that you don't have to make up your own. I have them in the same level of rigor of the 14 most difficult questions in 2021 and the 10 most difficult from 2019 in both multiple choice and open-ended short answer constructed type response format. Go to my math club called Come On, as opposite to off, math, Come On Sense Math, sense as in one of the 5 senses. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful day.